Okay, today we're going to work on multiplying and dividing integers. And the rules for this is pretty easy compared to the ones we've been doing. If you have like signs, boy, that's loud. Your answer is going to be positive. So if you've got a negative times a negative, it's going to be positive. And if you got a positive times a positive, it's going to be positive. Now remember, the rules for multiplying and the rules for dividing are exactly the same. If you have unlike signs, a positive or a negative and a positive, your answer will be negative. Okay? So that's pretty easy to remember. Two of the same signs, you get positive. Different signs, you get negative. Okay? Let's do a little practice.
Six times 4 is 24. 6 is positive and 4 is positive. So 24 is positive. What happens if I have negative 6 times negative 4? No, what do we say if the signs are the same? It's positive. Okay, what about negative 6 times 4? Negative 24, okay? And then what about 6 times negative 4? Nope, negative 24 because the signs are different. If the signs are different, your answer is negative. If the signs are the same, your answer is positive. Any questions about this rule? It's the same rule for division. So what is 5 times a negative 3? Negative 15. Negative 5 times negative 3. Positive 15. Negative 5 times 3. Negative 15. Negative 6 times 2. Negative 12. 6 times 2. Positive 12. And negative 6 times negative 2. Positive 12. So any questions about the rule? Okay, let's try some more. Now, remember the same rule applies for division. What is 18 divided by a negative 3? Negative 6. What is negative 18 divided by negative 3? Positive 6. Negative 18 divided by positive 3? Negative 6. Negative 6 divided by 2? Negative 3. 6 divided by 2? Positive 3. Negative 6 divided by negative 2? Positive 3. Okay, so the rules are pretty easy, right? Now, let's go ahead and go to our packet and do a couple of problems. So you guys have a pre-test and a post-test. Multiplying and dividing, you can have both operations. Your pre-test is 6LD713EM. Your post-test is 44VZ85ZK. Page 2 talks about the rules for multiplying. Remember, they're the same rules for dividing, so you can look those rules over again.
And then page 3 talks about the rules for dividing, which are the same as the rules for for multiplying. Okay, on page 4 we have a couple of problems at the top. Exercise 1, let's do that together. What is negative 4 times 6? Negative 4 times 6. Negative 24. What about negative 8 times negative 5? No, not 45. Positive 40. Negative 3 times a positive 7. Negative 21. 2 times 9. Positive 18. Negative 7 times 3. Negative 21. All right, now on exercise 2, we have a different situation. We've got more than 2 digits to worry about, more than 2 numbers. So you just want to kind of group the negatives and group the positives. So if I group negative 3 times negative 2, what does that give me? A positive 6. And then what's positive 6 times 4? 24. Then I've got 7 times a negative 1. This makes negative 7. And negative 7 times 3 is a negative what? 21. Or you could have just grouped it and said 7 times 3 times a negative 1, which would give you 21 times a negative 1, which is still negative 21. Okay? So you can group it however you want because multiplication is both commutative and associative. So I like to just group the positives and group the negatives together. Basically, if you have an odd number of negative signs, your answer is going to be negative. If you have an even number of negative signs, your answer is going to be positive. So on this one, I've got 1, 2. I've got 2 negative numbers. So since that's an even number, my answer is going to be positive. What's negative 5 times 3 times negative 2 times 1? Positive 30. And then on the last one, I've got negative 5 times 3 times negative 2 times negative 1. So I've got an odd number of negatives. So my answer will be negative, and then it's still going to be 30. Okay, so if you have an odd number of negatives, that means if you have 1, 3, 5, or 7, it's going to be a negative answer. Otherwise, it's going to be positive. Okay. Self-test problem number 1. Go ahead and try problem number 1 on both self-tests. One side is multiplication, the other side is division. Do that with your desk mate real quick. Tell me what answers you get. All right, you guys, these are the answers I got. Let me know if there's any debates or any different answers. Any debates on problem 1 for each self-test? Did you guys get the same answers? Okay. So let's have you guys try problem 2. Both for the multiplication side and for the division side, okay? If everybody got problem 1, let's look at problem 2 now. Okay, so those are the answers I got for number 2. Both 2s. So tell me if there's any debates on any of those. Check your positive and negative numbers. So remember that if the signs are the same, you're going to have a positive answer. A negative times a negative will give you a positive. But if you have an odd number of negative signs, if there's 1 negative sign or 3 negative signs, then your answer will be negative. Every 2 negatives cancel each other out. So multiply or divide the whole expression and then count the number of signs. And if it's an odd number, you're going to have a negative answer. Any more questions about what to do on this? Let's look at the rest of the packet. I think that's all I'll do for you. Let me see what else we've got. We've got more on page 5. You guys can do that with your table mates. More on page 6. It's a mixture of division and multiplication there. Page 7 is like a summary of them with more problems mixed up. So is page 8. Page 8 has a couple of yum-yums on it. And then the page 9 will be optional because I think these are pretty easy. So you can do them if you think you need more practice. Let's go back to page 8 and do maybe 1 or 2 of these yum-yums to make sure you guys have it down. On question 23, a team lost a total of 12 yards on 2 plays. What was the average loss per play? So we would say minus 12, right? Because it's a loss of 12 yards. And we're going to divide it by 2 to get the average. So what would my answer be? What kind of 6? A negative 6. So it's a loss of 6 per play. So we can write it in words as well. Negative 6, which is a loss of 6 yards per play. Because of the word lost. It doesn't mean plus, right? That's a key word there. What about on number 22? Investing a stock lost $4 a day for 6 days. What was the net change in the stock after those 6 days? So that's pretty easy. If it's a loss, what would it be? No, it'd be $4 for 6 days, James. So they lost $24 at the end of those days. They lost $24. Yeah. A loss of $24, however you want to say that. Okay, and then let's just do 1 or 2 down here on the bottom. It says, write the multiplication sentence below. So for 25, 6 times a negative 3, that's pretty easy, right? 6 times a negative 3. I'm just going to write it like this. Negative 15 divided by 5. Negative 7 times negative 6. I'm going to write that slightly different. Negative 7 times negative 6. And then 5 times a negative 8. And then negative 4 times 9. And then they want us to actually solve it. So we know that 6 times a negative 3 is a negative 18. We know that negative 15 divided by 5 is what? Negative 3. We know that negative 7 times negative 6 is what? Positive 42. And we know that 5 times a negative 8 is? Negative 40. And negative 4 times 9 is? Negative 36, okay? So you have had a couple of multiplications and a couple of division to do on that last page. So I'd like you and your table mate to work on finishing this packet. And then once you're done, I'd like you to work on getting caught up, because I bet a whole bunch of you did not do anything over the 5-day holiday. You guys had 5 days. I only have 4. So I know you didn't do anything. So when you finish this easy assignment, including the 2 tests, then I want you to go work on the packets that you didn't finish, okay? So that book check will not be so painful on Thursday, okay? All right.
You got a whole month of work, right?
No, you got like 4 days. On which one?
Right